Hi, I'm Ken. Today we're going to dive back into those Machin issues. I have just a subset of them here in front of me. This is the museum's Machin collection. There's a whole bunch in here, as we've seen before, of the singles and booklet pane stamps. And what I'm going to do today is take a look at all these singles that we had, all these single stamps, and make sure that we get as many mint and used copies of these singles as we can. And so to do that, I can start going through all these singles and sorting them by denomination, and that's probably what I'll wind up doing eventually. But before I really start with that, I want to go through some of these pre-built albums and see if I can pull out some subset of that makes the job of sorting these easier. Now, I left in the vault all the stamps that are on cover or ripped off of corners and still on paper because I really don't want to get into that pile if I have everything I need for the collection in these easier to work with stamps. What I'll be looking for ultimately is one mint copy unhinged and one used copy of each of these Machin head stamps in each of the varieties that we're looking for. I say unhinged because back when this collection was put together, hinging mint stamps was not considered such a big thing. Today, finding a mint copy is a little more unusual, a copy without a hinge mark, and so I need to look at the copies that we have in the collection already, make sure that they're unhinged, and then look at these stamps to find an unhinged version of the stamps we need, and then make sure that I capture them all onto a sheet like this so that I can then decide how we store them in the ultimate collection. So let me dive into that. I'll start sorting through these stamps and come in occasionally to give some updates on how I'm doing. But I won't make you watch the boringness of going through thousands and thousands of these envelopes to sort them. Well, let's get started with these. So what I have in front of me is all these loose stamps. I've got my copy of my Machin checklist pulled onto a couple pages. I just made this easier for me to look through. I made this checklist for this project because looking at things through this Stanley Gibbons catalog is just a little bit complicated. It doesn't sort things in a simple way for me to do an index onto. So this is a great catalog. This is the museum's copy in the volunteer room. It only goes to 2011. Stanley Gibbons, if you want to send them a newer copy, I'm sure they would appreciate that. Anyway, I'm not going to use this catalog because it's just more complicated than I need, but I do want it as reference for some of these items. I have only listed the numbers and not the differences between some of those numbers. So I'll put this aside for now. We'll probably come back to it. Oh, we're shaking a little bit with the camera there. That's okay. All these single stamps I'm going to just put aside for now and get these out of the way so I have some workspace, in favor of looking through some of these sheets that are in the collection. So I've got all these half-built collections of these, and in particular we got this one the other day. It's the pre-decimal collection. I'll go through this and check them for being mint never hinged, but if I have this completed collection, this is a really good start to make sure that I have mint never hinged versions of things. So I'm going to do the same thing with the items in here, and I'll take a look at the stamps in here to see what their condition is and try and find myself as much mint never hinged and used singles as I can before I resort to going through the ones that are on paper. So let me do that, and we will come back when there's something interesting to share. Hinged. You can see right here in this collection for the museum, these are all hinged in place, no mounts, and that's fairly typical of this time period. So while I love these items and the way this collection is laid out, both the booklet panes and the singles are hinged, and so we're going to have to find replacements for those. So that tells me what I need to know there. There's also this version of the X stamps that are part of the museum collection. These are also mostly used, but they're hinged in as well, and I don't mind the used stamp being hinged in, but that's good to know that that's there. So we're going to set the museum collection aside. because that's not going to help me in the short term. And now we're going to start being meticulous about pulling out the unhinged versions of these. And let's see. So this one was hinged. This one is just slightly hinged. Hinged. It's not hinged, but it has a little discoloration mark that I don't want in the reference collection. There we go. Yeah, these are all hinged except for this one. Yeah, that one's perfect. So I'm going to save this one out of the collection, the 4D. We'll put that up here for now. The rest of these, what I'll do is I'll look for a hinged mint 4D, and I'll put this up in the museum store for somebody to buy a whole collection of these things. So it's nice to have that, but I don't want to put that into the reference collection. And I want to fill that spot so that it's a complete set. Anyway, let's go off camera. Let me do a little work. We'll come back later. Okay, I'm back with an update. I have dived into a bunch of these stamps, and I am anxious that I've bitten off more than I can chew. We'll figure this out as we go. I will just keep attacking these and doing as best I can. So far, I've got these stamps here that are all mint. I won't show you these up close yet, but they're all mint unhinged. You'll notice that for many of these I have multiple copies, and that's partly because I've got some here with booklet selvage and some here with sheet selvage. Even though they have the same band number of bands on them, they are different, and I have to kind of understand that a little bit better. The other thing I noticed is I've got some here, these down here at the bottom, that have no bands, and they're listed in the catalog as having no bands, and so that's fine. But that's a variety as well, so I have to look into that. When I was doing that, I started pulling out these mint never hinged. That's great. And then I found a booklet that had a whole bunch of used stamps, and so I pulled those out and started looking at which ones were which band. So now I've got this sheet right here. I'd started to separate things into single band, double band stamps, and there were some that I couldn't see the bands well enough, so I got this high-powered UV light to look at them under, and noticed some things when I was looking at it under UV light, and so that brought up kind of a whole new realm of differences. On this sheet, I've got a bottom set of things which all have differences in them, and I've got to understand those a little bit better. These are kind of the normal stamp as they stand. Phosphor-coated paper, one center band on them, that's what you'd expect. This one right here has one center band but no coating, and you can see that under the UV light. And this one right here has a center band, but instead of the normal center band, this center band is orange, and I can't find in the catalog any orange center band, so I have to understand that a little bit better. This particular stamp has a different head type, and so as I got the specialized catalog out, it indeed mentions that there's two head types to this, so I need to get my head wrapped around that. And all these stamps, we can't find no center bands at all, and there is indeed listed no center band version, so I'm not surprised at that. But again, there's multiple things going on here, including two types of heads. And so we got to understand those a little bit better. This particular head almost looks like it doesn't belong with the others. So like maybe it's a counterfeit. So we'll have to look into that some more. Anyway, what that all comes down to is that my approach of finding a few good examples is probably not going to work out so well. So what I'm going to have to do here is get a big pile of these, look at them under the UV light. By the way, still some confusion because I can see the bands with the side light. You know, when you shine light on the side, I use the light from my iPhone to see that. I can see the bands that way, but in large part, I can't see the bands using a fluorescent light. Remember also that we've got long wave and short wave fluorescence, and we've got the notion of fluorescence, that is, it shows up when you shine the light on it, and phosphorescence, that is, it shows up after you take the light away. In theory, these are all fluorescent bands, although they're listed in the catalog as phosphorescent, and I can't make a phosphorescent reaction happen with the light that I have. So I've got some work to do to validate the phosphorescent fluorescent difference. And I think what I have to do now is collect a whole range of these and start to get my head wrapped around what are the variations. There's one more variation that I think I need to collect here, and that is the gum type on here. There's two different types of gum, and I don't have the experience yet to do that. So I think I need to collect me a bunch of examples, look at the different gums and start to get some feel for that gum. So for now, I think I've got to collect a whole bunch of these together and get a better sense of what's going on. What else do I want to share before I wrap this up? So I think I still have a lot of work here to do in my own education. I'll bring you along for the ride, and for now, I think I just have to keep doing some more sorting. So we'll come back after a while when there's something new to share and see what we learn. And so here we are. I think it's time to wrap up for the day. I've run out of headspace for this, but what I've done is pulled out all the 4 pence 4D pre-decimal stamps that I found on these various lots. I've got a bunch on this sheet. Mint never hinged up on these first 3 rows. Mint hinged here. Some sheets that I've pulled out, some partial sheets where I'm sure there's some mint. Some mint never hinged in there. I also have some coil strips and some booklet panes that'll help me identify some of these. A whole bunch of used stamps and the ones we talked about already down here at the bottom. Besides those, I've got a packet here, so actually 4 different packets of the same stamp to give me some to really paw through. My plan is to go over these in some detail with the UV light, make sure my understanding is correct about the various UV reactions, the gum in these unused version, that the 2 different head types that are here. The specialized catalog also lists the number of plate flaws that I'll start to look through. Here's my plan. I'm going to do this level of detail for these 4D stamps. Hopefully when I'm done with all these, I'll have learned enough that I don't have to do this level of detail with every denomination in this series, because otherwise I'll go nuts doing this stuff. So anyway, I'm going to do that off camera, come back, tell you what I learned, and that'll be it for today. So I've moved off into this room where I can turn off the light, and I've set up where I can start looking at these stamps in some more detail. You'll notice that I have this Goji Fix microscope set up to look at these stamps, and I think you can see that I've got it wired into my computer screen on my Macintosh. So I'm looking at the stamp that's here. We'll just move it around and prove that to you. We're looking at the stamp that's there on my screen and trying to get a better sense of it. Now, this microscope comes with a light. It comes with 2 lights. One that's a ring light. Turn that on briefly. There we go. Comes with a ring light. And it also comes with these 2 extender lights that are hanging off the back. I don't need those lights for what we're going to do today. So I've turned those off because we're going to turn off most of the lights. Instead, what we're going to do is try and look at this stamp under ultraviolet light. Now, the catalog is not clear about what it means by ultraviolet light. Neither Scott nor Stanley Gibbons, in my opinion, are clear about what exactly to expect for these stamps. This particular stamp, when I look at it sideways against a bright light, I can see the phosphor band that's on here. No doubt that this has a center phosphor band to it. So I want to be able to figure out how can I see that phosphor band under this microscope. And what I have at home is this light right here. Now this light has a long wave UV light, and a shortwave UV light. I'm not going to look at the shortwave UV light because that can be damaging to the eyes. Although before I did this video, I made a confirmation test that these glasses are indeed opaque to the shortwave light, so no risk of damaging my eyes with this light. Anyway, when I take this stamp and I set it down here with the long wave light, I do indeed see that the paper is fluorescent. That is, it shines bright white when I shine the light on it. So that's good. But I can't see using this long wave light that there is a reaction, a fluorescent reaction in that center band. The same is true when I turn off the lights, but that's kind of hard to see. Well, maybe we'll try and do that in just a second. So I can't see the fluorescence of that center band with this light. When I turn on the shortwave light, same thing. There's nothing to see in the light. But when I turn on the shortwave light, I can't see anything. No fluorescence, no phosphorescence. Let's just briefly talk about fluorescence and phosphorescence. Fluorescence is when something gets the light shined on it, the UV light shined on it, and it shines brightly. That's fluorescence. Phosphorescence is when you shine something up and you charge it up, and then you turn off the light, the thing still glows. I've got this this little pinback button from Halloween. It's got that traditional green color to it. Let's pop the lights off and see if we can make this happen. Just a second. There we go. Hopefully, I'll look in the camera in just a second. Let me see if I can do this at the same time. Yeah, there you go. You can see that this little guy lights up green, even though the lights are off, right? So that's phosphorescence. Let me turn the lights back on. So that phosphorescent reaction is what you're supposed to see with a phosphorescent band. This is a phosphor band, and or it's called a phosphor band. And so one would think because it's called a phosphor band that you would expect to see a phosphorescent reaction. I do not see that reaction using my light. So what I did here is take this light and we'll put it away. What I did is I got the museum's light. This is a combination shortwave, long wave light, two different modes, and it is quite a bit brighter than my light. So much brighter, in fact, that I think if we turn off the lights, I should be able to show you what's going on here. Let me do that, but I'm going to adjust the camera angle so we get a closer view. So this is the long wave UV light, and you should be able to see that these stamps shine pretty brightly under long wave UV. You can see some are brighter than others. Let me bring this a little bit closer to the camera and you can see what's going on. So that's long wave UV. If I take this light away, nothing continues to shine. There's no phosphorescent reaction under long wave UV light. Now, that phosphorescent reaction is extremely short, and so I'll pull this away very quickly, and you see if you see any lingering shade. Nope, I agree, no lingering shade. So there's no phosphorescent reaction under long wave light, and indeed you never see phosphorescent reaction under long wave UV. So let me switch this off. Let me keep the light so you can see what's going on. Let me switch on the shortwave light. Get it on. And turn off the long wave. So that's shortwave UV. And you can see some reaction. Some different stamps shine differently under shortwave. But for the most part, it is no reaction under shortwave light. That's kind of what you expect. So these stamps are reacting to long wave, but not reacting to shortwave. Now, I say that, and I think you'll be able to see, let me try this. I think you'll be able to see that this one stamp that I pulled out does in fact have a shortwave reaction. You need to get a pretty bright light, and I don't think my little one is bright enough to see this. That's the shortwave light on it. I think when I get that right up on there, you can see the center band. It's very subtle. But let's charge that up a bit. You can see a slight shading of the dark edge. Maybe that's, can we get closer? There we go. You can see a slight shading of that center band under shortwave UV light. That is a phosphorescent reaction. Sorry, a fluorescent reaction, not a phosphorescent reaction, because it's showing while the light is on. Okay? So I'm charging that up a little bit. That should be long enough under this much bright light. And then I'm going to pull the light away, and you see if you can see any lingering reaction. Oh, I think I saw it. Let's try that again. Charging, charging, charging. I'm going to pull it away. We'll see the reaction. I think I saw it. We'll try it one more time. You can see, though, how subtle that phosphorescent reaction is. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to turn the lights back on and we can talk about this for a second. So this is the stamp we're looking at under, well, let's get a little light on it. That's the stamp we're looking at under shortwave light. I don't think you can see the band here. Well, maybe you just get a hint of it right there. I don't think you can see much of it under natural light, although the easiest way for me to see this band on this stamp is with the with natural light held up at an angle. That is honestly the first time I've seen the phosphorescent reaction on these stamps. So indeed, a phosphorescent coating with a pretty powerful shortwave UV light produces a very slight phosphorescent reaction, and we can see that in this stamp. Okay, so we're back, and this is my setup with the stamp. I've got that stamp back underneath the microscope, and I've got it wired into the computer so we can see it on the screen. It's a really nice setup here. Again, I don't have any light on it because what I really want to do is see this under UV light. One of the things I wanted to point out is when I looked at that last video we just shot, it's really hard to see that stripe. I'll make sure that I have put an image of the phosphorescent reaction up on the screen. In fact, let's put it up right now. So that stripe down the middle is the phosphorescent reaction. Many of you won't have been able to see it. And one of the reasons this is so hard to see is that our eyes have to adjust to light. Oftentimes when I'm at home, what I'll do is I'll close my eyes while I'm charging up the stamp, and then I'll turn off the light really quickly and open my eyes at the same time, because the time it takes my eyes to adjust to the bright light is longer than the time it takes for that phosphorescent reaction to disappear, which essentially means that the reaction is gone before I can see it. Let's take that down. So what we want to do here is take a look at this stamp under the UV light and see the fluorescent version of it, just so we can confirm it's there. I'm going to do that in the dark, so let me turn off the light. What I have here is the bright fluorescent light. Here's the shortwave light on it, and you can see on my screen these two bands right here. I hope you can see on my screen. Let me look at the phone and make sure it's recording properly. Yep, indeed. So you can see under the shortwave light through the magnifying glass, this through the microscope, this stripe, and it's really easy to see on the white bands here, but it gets really hard to see down here on the edges. I practiced with lots of different ways to see this, and this was the only way I was able to see it with the phosphorescent reaction on the shortwave UV light. Long wave doesn't show it, and if I then hide this light, I'm certain we won't be able to see it fade, but we'll give it a try. Yeah, really, not a chance. Yeah, no way. So we're not able to see that shortwave reaction on this view, but it is a way for us to see it using the microscope there. So, but you'll notice that I don't need to have the microscope to see this stamp's reaction. It's just a nice, convenient way to do it. What I really wanted to do is, in the catalog it lists that this particular stamp has screen printing, and screen printing is a way of showing dots to represent the image. Let me see, do I have an image of that here to show you? Well, not obviously right now. I'll show you in just I'll take an image and put up an image of the screen printing. Those diagonal lines of the dots are the screen printing of the background image of the Queen's face. So that we can see with the microscope. I took that picture with this microscope. The phosphor band is printed on this stamp using the exact same technology. That is, the band is screen printed over the Queen's face. And the catalog lists that there are two types of screen printing on this band. One is 250 dots per inch, or lines per inch, and the other is 150 lines per inch. And it turns out, to make it even more complicated, that some of these stamps have half the stamp with the 250 lines per inch, and the other half is 150 lines per inch. So let's use this microscope and see if we can't see the screen printing on the band. This is a little bit tricky, so I'm going to hold the light on there to give me the light. I'm going to bring the microscope in closer. Got to get really close with this. Pull out just a little bit here. Focus a little bit more. So you see how close I am now, and you still can't see. Well, I can see it when I'm up close, but I don't think you'll be able to in the video. Let's go a little bit closer. Yeah, so that's that. Let me turn it around and see if I get a better lighting on it. I do not. I think what I want to do here is, there we go. That's good. So there we go. On the screen, you should be able to see the screen printing on that edge of the stamp. Now I have it here. Let me just move it a little bit. There we go. I have it here so that we're seeing the white edge of the stamp. There is no screen printing on the white edge of the stamp, so you will not see a hash pattern on this white part of the stamp. Instead, where you see it here is where the phosphor band is, and these diagonal lines are the screen printing that we're looking for. Like I said before, there's no way anybody could see this level of detail with a 10x magnifying glass. You would need a microscope to see this. And being able to set up the microscope onto my computer screen with this high-powered UV light all at the same time, I think we've done a little bit of a trick here, and I'm kind of interested in that. So, when you look at this, you'll see this hash pattern, and what we need to do to see if we have the 250 or the 150 dots per inch is count these little lines. So in order to do that, we put up the scale, and this scale is two of these major dots are 1/2 millimeter. Let me see if I can apply that. Yeah, there we go. So two of these major dots are 1/2 millimeter, and that's a feature that's in the software that comes with the microscope, so it's available to everybody. Now, how to count that? Let me see if I have to focus it a little bit better. There we go. How to count that? It turns out that you can't count those lines diagonally. You have to count them horizontally. So in order to do that, I have to turn the stamp 45 degrees. Let's see if we can't get that back into the image. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So, so you can start to see here now an ability to count a full width. I count, let's just count half of one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 of those lines per 1/2 millimeter. So we'll call that 14 per 1/2 millimeter. And it turns out that that resolution, 14 and 1/2 millimeter, is the same as 250 lines per inch. That's what I need to do in order to get the screen printing detail on these phosphor bands. There's no way I could do it without a shortwave UV light that's powerful enough to see in the dark with a microscope and the ability to kind of make these minor adjustments. So let's stop for a second and we'll talk on camera. Okay, so here we are. We've got the queen down here. We've got the image of her face up on the screen. I think in this image, I'll show you a screenshot of it. In this image, you can definitely see the screen printing dots. Very easy to see here, although in this light we can't see the phosphorescent or fluorescent image. I have my little microscope here, and just for the sake of it, let's see. Can I see that detail with the microscope? I can see a hint of the screen printing. Certainly not enough to count them effectively, but I can see the dots in the queen's face. You can try it with your own, but it's so much easier to see under the microscope. And that's been great. So microscope lets me see those dots. That in combination with this UV light lets me be able to see the screen printing on the phosphor bands. And I am not going to show you the craziness that it's going to be for me to look through all these different stamps, plus the ones I have in the booklet, to see which ones have what kind of reaction. What I'm going to do is go away off camera, look at all these stamps, or at least enough of them to give me a sense of what I'm seeing, and see if I can't pick out the various varieties that are in the catalog using the microscope and the light, and try to come back with some stamps sorted and to show you some examples of the stamps with the 250 and 150 variety. Hopefully we'll find one of them in this set. Maybe we won't, I don't know yet. So we'll learn a little bit, I'll learn a little bit, and I'll come back on the next session and show you what I've learned in this process. But for now, I think that's the end of the videos. We'll post this one, and I will come back with an update when I've had some time to go through this and maybe a few other of the denominations. We'll see about that. I hope you enjoy this series and come back for the next one. And I hope that you enjoy this microscope. I certainly have.